Hello and welcome to the Learning Luminaries podcast, the show where each week we join an inspirational innovator who is making the world a better place by following their own inner light. Today, I am delighted to be joined by Ken Lloyd, who is a one-of-a-kind energetic healer, certainly on another level. Welcome, Ken.
Yeah, thank you for the introductions. And I know we just met the other day, and I got to tell you, I love your energy, and I love what you're doing with the way your gifts are flowing through you, the way you're able to recognize what's coming to some
Mm,
degree, and how you're applying it to others. So, thank you for having me on the show. And how can I help you, and how can I help your audience? And by the way, I have energy now flowing through my system.
yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. I think that it would be really cool to take some time in this episode to really establish energy work for people who don't understand what's going on. Something that, and I would love to get a little bit more of an introduction into the work that you do from your perspective before we go further. So let's start there.
Sure, sure. So let me just give you my background. And, so my experience or my journey started in spring of 2018 when I had a near-death experience. Now, that near-death experience was brought on by stress. So at that time, I was a three-time cybersecurity entrepreneur.
Mhm.
I created anti-spyware, antivirus technologies, very, very logical. I had never had any religious background, no spiritual background. I was under an incredible amount of stress. I ended up with a pituitary tumor, with the biopsy being a cortisol tumor wrapped in a cortisol cyst, right? What a wonderful, wonderful gift that was. And my near-death experience wasn't like most. The way I explain it is when you hear these stories, people go over and they have conversations, they get knowings and insights, and they've got these amazing things. That is not what happened at all for me. So if you can imagine the idea of going over, maybe you're going through a tunnel. Some people say they go through a tunnel. I didn't do that. Imagine the tunnel opening and 13 soul aspects came over to me. All right. So they joined me and they joined me today. So, and that was about 6 years ago. I didn't know what happened. Had no clue. I just know I woke up the next day a little more peaceful and a
Mm,
little more inquisitive, like what just happened? What was that? So I started seeking psychics. I
mhm,
started seeking people who can give me a little more insight to what's going on with me. Why do I feel this very, very subtle, and I mean very, very subtle shift? Why did things in my life begin resolving? Why
mm,
did the trauma go away? So I later found out I'm what they call a walk-in. So there are many types of walk-ins. Some is an exchange. So you imagine, being in a death experience where your soul walks out, but the vessel still exists and another soul walks in. That's
mm.
not what happened with me. I'm what they call a soul braid, or I was a soul braid, meaning that others join me and we kind of braid together. Now, when
Yeah.
that happens, they adjust my energy field. So we'll talk about energies here in just a little bit. But by adjusting my energy field, it brought me into alignment or in connection with my higher self. So information began flowing. Now I didn't know it, right? It's not like I got these sparks of downloads and sparks of information. It was literally breadcrumb by breadcrumb by breadcrumb. And I'd get these little nudges, go see that person, spend money here, spend money there. And at the time I started reading books. How do you read an aura? How do you do this? How do you remote view? And none of it made any sense. None of it really worked. But then I read a book about energy healing and I took Reiki, and I didn't take Reiki to practice it. I took Reiki to open up the energy channels. And I got to tell you, just a word to your listeners, do it. Get attuned.
Absolutely.
Get attuned because it opens these things up. And that was the first time I could actually feel something was after the Reiki. So started reading these books about energy healing and started, practicing on friends and families. And like, oh yeah, I can feel it. I can feel it. I'm like, okay, sure. If you say so, right? And it took about a year and a half or so. I took an energy course, and in the course, I'm doing all the work. Still wasn't convinced I could do things. So then I went out and hired someone, paid a lot of money for this person to show me how to be multidimensional. And if you ever had someone you paid before, they always say, good job, you're doing it. And I still didn't believe them. They're taking me on these trips. Go to Mars, go inside Mars, go to the Earth, go to this universe, go do these things, go see that ET. And all of these things were happening. And I'm thinking, no, 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 I don't know what's going on here, but you're filling me up full of stuff. Yeah. But, you know, I later found out it was all real. It was all happening. It took me a long time to accept the fact that I had changed.
How did you, I have a couple of questions. Number one, how did you know that it was real? Like what changed to make you believe?
There was an event that took place in December 2021, I think. I got what I call my first download. And a download is information. So even though we get information all the time, even as a non-spiritual person, you're getting downloads. You're getting this intuition. I should go apply for that job, or I should go date that person. It's still intuition. It's still information and guidance from your higher self or your soul. But this particular time, at this point, I was able to see inside the body. Still
Mm.
didn't know what was going on. And I got this download that says, hey, Ken, go into the third ladder of your DNA. So 1, 2, 3. And I go in there and I look around, and you imagine there's a tunnel on my left and a tunnel on my right. If you can imagine, you're in the run of the ladder, and there are drum cymbals. So the metal things that slap together. And I know I get the name, the snares, what they call snares, whatever. But they weren't vertical, they were horizontal. And there are 4 sets in the left and 4 sets in the right. And I get this message to reach in, grab one, and move it to a different position.
Mm.
The moment I did that, everything started vibrating in the scene. The bottom dropped out to an upside down pyramid, and it went down forever. And I'm looking down. As soon as I look up, there's this portal in front of me. So a long tube looks cloudy, right? And at the end of it were 4 ETs. And these were 30-foot tall ETs, non-animated. They didn't really talk. I later found out these were called the Craigs, and that's Kregs. I didn't get the download. I had to go find someone to tell me what was going on. I was the 5th one. So I called my buddy up the next day. I says, hey, this thing just happened to me. Can I try it on you? Now, we always surround ourselves with people who help us in our journey. Sometimes we're the helper, right? And other times they're the ones helping us. So I have some close friends, and I says, can I try this thing on you? And we were able to go through all 12 of his DNA strands and tell a story and to do activations and to introduce him to his ET family. I mean, it was just incredible what he was able to tell me and validate what I was seeing was matching what he was seeing. So
Yeah.
that really the holy crap moment. Like something's going on beyond me just doing this stuff. So yeah, they're 17th dimensional ETs, and I've moved beyond that at this point. But that was my moment.
That is extraordinary. I want to rewind a little bit and first talk about what is a soul aspect and what is the oversoul.
Mhm.
Um, I've had a lot of personal experience with this as well. For me, when it initially started, and I'll just kind of share a little bit of my journey in this. I had my major spiritual awakening when we were all in lockdown during 2020. But I've been very energetically aware since I was a little kid. I've always been interacting with spirits and my spirit guides and different like energy workings and stuff like that pretty much my whole life. But it was during that period of isolation where I kind of had this very deep reflective moment where I was able to see all of the things that were sort of holding me back and all of the different ways that I had been fragmented and disjointed from experience and trauma and things like that. And when I first started learning about it, it was because I was experiencing different voices, different perspectives, different full physical feelings inside of my being. And it was honestly really scary because like when you hear about people having these different energies going on inside of them, we think about like split or this kind of negative connotation. And so initially I thought that I had DID, which is dissociative identity disorder. And I spent a lot of time learning about my different alters and learning about the different aspects of myself. And in the process of that, I realized that some of them were created through responses to trauma, but a lot of them were also created like intergalactically otherworldly energies that are working with me in my multidimensional self. And so by being able to understand the difference between my own fragmentation from maybe behaviors that I had picked up to survive a certain situation or to repress other things, then I was also able to like work further and further and further with these higher dimensional beings that would then start pushing me in more profound directions. And so that was my kind of personal experience with this sort of soul aspect and then unifying it back together. So I would love to hear about yours.
Yeah, your awareness is incredible. I'm just
Thank
going
you.
to say, most people don't have that realization that we have galactic selves. And then when we have trauma, there's a fragment of our soul that kind of splits outside of us. Now,
Mm-hmm.
when I see that visually, I see them outside of the person, but kind of hands still in, kind of still attached, and they're holding trauma. And they're like, listen, help heal the soul aspect so I can merge back in with the person. All right. So those soul aspects hold trauma, like you were saying. Now, for me, when the 13 came in, they were versions of me in other dimensions and other realities. Now, they didn't come in because there was trauma, though.
Mm,
They came in with a gift and a job.
yeah.
So my higher self says, okay, you're going to do light language, you're going to do healing. And I don't know their jobs. I never had a dialogue with them specifically, but that's why they came in. So the soul itself wants to have experiences. That's
Mm-hmm.
what I mean. Forget about the experience you're going to have, but there's really two solid purposes. One's expansion and experience.
Mm-hmm.
Wants to continue to expand, and have all these experiences that it set up from the original time of soul incarnation. All right. And when it has all those experiences and it expands as wide as it can, it gets merged back in with the higher self. It gets merged back in with the oversoul. And eventually, once all those soul aspects come in, it gets merged back in with source. You could call it the cycle of the soul life, if you will.
I love
So
that.
it's a long process, but it's to have experiences. The universe, God, source, whatever. It's like, hey, let's have all these experiences, and they continue to grow. And no, an experience doesn't mean it's going to be a good one, right?
Mhm.
There's still experiences, regardless of whether you have incredibly joyous ones or incredibly traumatic ones. It still wants to have that experience. So the idea of merging these soul aspects back in, just to kind of come back to you, is the healing process.
Mm,
As you become more whole, you are able to expand. As you remove the trauma, you're able to expand. And when you expand, guess what happens? Your frequency rises, your gifts come online. Those things you say, hey, just turn it on, just turn it on. Well, we have to get rid of all that, baggage. I call it like a hot air balloon idea, right?
mm,
What holds the hot air balloon? Sandbags, trauma,
yeah.
right? And as you do the work, as you heal that trauma, you remove the energy out of your system, your frequency rises.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
so you get more and more and more. I hope that provided some explanation of that.
That was a very thorough explanation. Thank you. One thing that I'm called to share is this idea of experience and about like how important it is to have honor and reverence for the uncomfortable experiences of life, right? Fear and sadness and grief and all of these sorts of things are also sacred teachers, the same way that joy and excitement and things like that are. But the difference is that one is meant to be embodied and one is meant to be transmuted. One is meant to be understood and moved through. And I think something that holds a lot of people back is that they have this feeling and then they repress it and then they repress it and then it gets stuck in the body somewhere. Yeah.
I'm going to raise my hand and point to me.
And so then they repress it and it gets stuck in the body somewhere until eventually, like what happened with you, like your body can't contain that repressed energy and then something has to change. And usually that's when we have like health things or something, some kind of crisis that sort of forces people to look at themselves and forces people to heal. And so what I love that kind of people are moving towards and we're helping with people do is lean into that feeling that they're stuffing down and give it space, right? Like if that tiny feeling of anxiety that you're always trying to push away, if you let it, if you sit with it and you hear what it's trying to teach you, then it will be able to move through your channel and you won't be holding so tightly onto this thing because you're scared of it. And
Yeah.
so I feel like that is one of the ways that people can kind of really begin to do this work with themselves. We talk about these lofty things like your oversoul and God and all that kind of stuff, but really at the end of the day, it comes back down to like, how are you thinking about yourself? How are
Mhm.
you thinking your internal energy? And like, how are you living with reverence for that? And also, how can you keep in motion, right? Like humans are energy channels that are meant to have things pass through them. Like you
Mhm.
said, down. And so we have to be able to ground and make sure that we have that clarity to flow with. I would also love to talk about the difference between an oversoul and source, because I think that that is very significant. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah. So one of the things I will tell you is I'm not book smart,
Mm,
right? I'm not allowed. My team doesn't allow me read books, watch videos, subscribe to anything. So I'm not one of these individuals that can give you the textbook definition of what we might call an oversoul. All
yeah.
right. So just a heads up for your listeners, I don't have that background. So when I'm coming through with information is literally whatever they're telling me to do. So the idea of the oversoul is the original spark from source. Because when source expanded, it created all these individual sparks that we all call the oversoul. The oversouls themselves then split off. Ken likes to call it like multi-level marketing pyramid. We don't mean that in the sales sense, but the idea that all these different soul aspects all really do boil up into an individual consciousness called source, and then so on and so forth. So the oversoul actually has the requirement for all the experiences. It creates other sparks or other. He likes to use the idea of a lava lamp. The little bubbles come off, and then they come off, and the same idea. They trickle down all the way down to where we have the higher self. Now, the higher self actually creates another spark, which we call the soul itself. Now, the soul is actually around the body. You only have a small sliver of the soul in the body. Now, my understanding is when the soul wants to embody, it actually splits off like a prism. All right. And this is where we have the seven chakras, right? So if we shine a light through a prism, what happens? We get seven primary colors, which is what we have here. So the soul is around us in all of our energy bands.
Yeah.
A fragment is inside of us, and this is our personality, right? This is the human embodiment. And this is the aspect that doesn't actually typically have access to what our soul around our physical body is trying to convey, right? Remember, the soul is here to have an experience, right? So it's trying to guide us and it's trying to move us. And whether it be through illness and through disease, like, hey, bring awareness. Why do I have a knee issue? Well, you're having a problem moving forward in life. There's books galore on the different things. But the idea is to have the experiences, move back into the soul, and then obviously merge back up. I hope that provided some explanation, the best that I can with the limited information I have.
Yeah, what was really fascinating to me in that moment was the authenticity of your channeling. So you could see it like interact with you. And
Yeah.
I think that is really powerful. As a powerful channeler myself, that's visceral, right? Like,
Mhm.
I am a nerd, and so I love reading about this stuff all the time. Like, I am constantly looking into understand more with my human mind, because I feel like it develops my language so that when I like am channeling, then I almost like I can comprehend better. Like I can speak on this higher level to it. But what I love about the way that you do things is that it's from source, right? Like it is this very visceral, organic information that's being channeled through you. And I love your story about how like you didn't have a religious background, you didn't have a like spiritual background. You're a very logical, analytical, computer-minded person because
Mhm.
of then like come in and be able to have this very blank canvas to talk about like a high level of analytic work that people are doing inside of their own energy systems. It just makes so much sense to me that you are the way that you are.
I struggle with it though, right? So even though I have these soul aspects in me, and there's four more that are merging in right now. So this is going to be my entire life. There'll be soul aspects coming in and soul aspects leaving, right? They've modified the physical body. So when I don't move and I just lay there, my face starts getting tingly. My arms, my fingers, my toes, sometimes all the way into the bones, and sometimes I feel it 2 inches around me. All right. So they've modified my energy field in the physical structure. Now, the reason they did this is so that when I'm in physical proximity of someone, they're getting this information from me. When we say information, we're talking healing codes, ascension codes, awareness, knowledge, activations. My field, as of right now, is 410 feet around me.
Mhm.
So when you show up to my event or even on these podcasts like this, you're getting exactly what you're ready for, even without interacting with me.
From that
So
dimensional frequency of experience, because it's almost like a tuning fork
mhm,
where were to play a certain note, eventually the resonant of the like singing bowls around you would start matching to that one note.
Yeah. So as I mentioned the other day, the idea of a channel, when you tap in, the average person taps in and they channel information. It comes down to the chest usually and comes out. And everyone has a little different practice. But for me, it's not like that. It's already in my field. My entire energy field is like a hard drive. So when information comes in, it stays. And
Mm-hmm.
when I channel, when I do my healing, it's being pulled from my field. So this makes it available 100% all the time for whatever somebody needs.
Mm-hmm.
When I work on somebody, when I'm healing their shoulder, as an example, which is just a great analogy I like to use, and I reach into the video that's being played in my mind and I pull that energy out or I heal that ancestor, I'm creating what we would call programming code. I
Right.
call it healing codes. It's actually quantum codes, quantum entanglement. That code, once successful, is stored in my field. So when somebody shows up to an event, somebody shows up to these things and they're ready and they need that code, it's available. I don't have to repeat it again. They just get to pull it down and the process occurs. When I'm in a group events, I'll usually grab somebody random out of the audience. Say, okay, somebody's got a neck issue, a shoulder issue, a back issue, something that's painful to this very, very moment. And I'll bring them up to the front of the room, or if they're that sore, I'll go over to them and I'll heal them.
Mm-hmm.
And it happens within seconds, maybe a minute, depending on how complex it is. But then other people in the room will be like, yeah, it doesn't hurt for me either.
Yeah.
And that was interesting. The first time that happened, I pulled an 80-year-old lady up to the front of the room and I worked on her back and her hips. And, she was standing up wonderful. And the guy in the front row says, I don't have arthritis in my hand anymore. I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
even working on that. So, and this happens all the time because these codes are stored in my field.
Right.
So a little different, right, for me. And this will continue to expand. My team tells me that field, which by the way, back in September, October was about 85 feet.
Mm-hmm.
They tell me by December, it's almost a kilometer in width. So my mission is millions of people.
Mm-hmm.
So it's to show up to events with thousands of people in there and literally just drop in and do the work. And we're going to give you a sample of that, as soon as you're ready. A little later towards the end of the podcast, we'll give a healing for everyone, or I think you suggested an activation for everyone. We're going to do that.
Yes, absolutely. I'm really looking forward to that. I'm wondering what you think about I think that oftentimes the thing that gets in the way of energetic healing work sticking is people's own conscious thoughts and doubt. So, how do you get your energy work to be sustainable when they're not around you anymore and they
I don't see that like that at all. So
Mhm.
I see energy and I see energy disturbances or energy interference.
Mhm.
So if you just look at the idea of a radio that has static in it, when you remove that static, it's clear. All right. But you go down the road and there's something else. It's like layers and layers of static. So when I'm in there and I'm healing, somebody's trauma, somebody's ancestral trauma to, again, just use the analogy, fix their shoulder, it might be fixed for a minute. It might be fixed for a day, a month, or permanently,
Mhm.
depending how many layers they have.
Mhm.
So when I do my group healings, I give what I call a transformational healing protocol, which basically says you need to ground every day. You need to do some Epsom salt baths, right? Don't do any drinking for 4 days. Do not drink alcohol. Don't do any illicit drugs for 4 days because these energies need to sit in the body. And you're going to purge. You're going to have, and I tell the guys, you're going to find yourself on the couch in the fetal position, crying your eyes out. You're not going to know why. This is the purging of that. But if you don't allow that to happen, well, guess what? You're not allowing that energy to flow out. And
Mhm.
for your audience, I don't heal anybody. I mean, technically, no healer heals anybody. What healers do is they're able to go in there and allow a way for the energy disturbance, energy interference, that illness, this dis-ease, so on, the emotional stuff, a pathway out.
Right.
But the energy still needs to go on its own,
Because
right?
it's the internal responsibility to heal that, right? It's like in them for a reason.
You have to release, right?
Yeah.
The word is basic. I'm doing 99% of the work, right? And you just need to allow, just to know it's going to happen. And it does, right? So when you start getting those self-doubts, when you start getting that, a self I want to use the word abuse here, but you know, the I'm not good enough and I'm not going to heal. Well, guess what's going to happen? It's
Right.
not going to happen. Typically, people who show up ready for this, they've done the work, right? They're ready. They're absolutely ready for it to happen. So just
Yeah.
like so.
I love that. And I also love helping people get ready to be there. Like I love helping people in the process of getting to the work, like just before that point.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Yeah. I think that it's really powerful because I think that in order to help people transition from this kind of state of unawareness to awareness, a lot of that is helping them believe in their own authority and believe in their own ability to enact something into will, right? And
Yep.
so a lot of times people have external authority. They're looking for a teacher or a parent or the manager at their corporate entity to tell them what they're allowed to do, when they're allowed to do it, how they have to do it, the exact protocol, and then they just don't think that there are other ways, and they forget that they have power of dominion over their own life. That's why they have hands, and that's why they, even if they don't have hands, they still have power of dominion, you know.
You are in control of the journey. Don't give up that control, right? And
Exactly.
even if the journey is difficult because you're not healing, find people to help you. You'd be surprised how deep some of this trauma goes. Galactic lifetimes way back, you know, thousands and thousands of lifetimes that we have to go back and address and then heal the timelines going all the way forward, right? Well, that's not going to happen in your living room by reading a book. Like you have to go to somebody to assist you. And even for me, you know, I can't heal myself.
Right.
I have to go to somebody, which is really crazy. I can do all these amazing things, but no, apparently I'm off limits. So it's just funny how all that works.
Yeah, humans are communal creatures. We are literally designed to be witnessed and to
Mhm.
be held, to be acknowledged. And so, in order for us to truly, I feel like sometimes in order for us to truly heal, we have to have people witness the thing that we're healing. Even if I'm the one releasing it, like if nobody knows, there's a part of me that still holds on to it. But when somebody else, like yesterday, we did a pretty powerful energy working together that I felt very witnessed in some things that dissolved because of that level of like intricacy. And also, I just want to say, like, with my own personal experience with your work, you are a very accurate channel. Like, the things that you pulled out were the hyper specific intergalactic details of my soul's origin that I have been cultivating over years to understand. And then you were like, oh, well, this is that, and this is that, and this is that. And it just was like everything that I knew that you did not know. So,
And it was fast, wasn't it? It was like boom, 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 boom. Like there's
yeah,
no messing around. You know, we're not going to spend an hour, you know, talking about your trauma with Aunt Sally, right?
yeah,
I'm going in there. Childhood trauma takes 15 seconds to remove. I mean, it's just boom, boom, boom. And in fact, when I'm doing the group sessions, it's done for you. Like there's no, you don't have to remember anything. You don't have to know there's trauma. You don't have to have none of that. It just is done for you if you're willing to show up and to do the work before and after, you know, the taking care of self, the really getting into who am I and, you know, how do I become a better, you know, better experience.
yeah. Just a really practical thing that people can do to kind of do that work is it literally starts with the cornerstone of where are you spending your time, energy, and attention during your day? Like, do you have at least two chunks of time throughout the day, ideally at the beginning and the end of the day, where you are like focusing on your energy, right? Where you're grounding, you're eating with gratitude, you're focusing on the intentions as you're drinking water, or you're stretching, or you're doing something that really honors your spirit and your life, right? To
Mhm.
that is where that work comes in. It's in the self-care. And so it's not like I one of some of the work that I do is I'm a mystic mentor who helps people develop highly specific curated rituals that are distinct to their spiritual path and distinct to their ancestry and things like that, so that they can really lean into the energetics of like the ritual and things like that, because I think that's really important. But I don't think that that's the cornerstone of how you heal. I think that
Yeah.
that's like the kind of next tier of healing.
I
Because
gotta say, I just love your energy. And I'm sorry to interrupt you. You're so spot on and so articulate. It's incredible for me. And, you know, again, on the other side for me, I'm more of this holistic global. Go in there and do the work. Bam, bam, bam. Make you know. If you see my little thing there, right? Accelerating ascension. That's my job.
yeah,
All right. The idea of our whole ascension, raising our frequency, it is taking forever.
Yeah.
And I've shown up, boom, boom, to make this happen. So, but listening to you describe it, kind of down in a way that it applies to the everyday for the everyone, regardless of whether they're an amazing channel or still trying to, figure out how to use their fingers, right? It's incredible. So my hat's off to you, and I just wanted to give you a shout out.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that. I'm really grateful for that. I receive. Um, I want to go into the meat now. Let's start cooking. So spiritual gifts, right?
Mhm.
Everyone has them. What are they? How do people activate them? What is the purpose? This is ultimately building up to when we ascend, what vision for humanity are we creating? Let's
Mm.
go.
Spiritual gifts. It's a frequency.
Mm,
Everybody has unique gifts. And let's not bucket the gifts into the idea of whatever that book says. There's 15 gifts. You got remote viewing, you've got channeling, so on and so forth. Just get rid of that for just a moment. All right. Everybody's an empath. Everybody
mm,
can everybody else's energy. All right. When we raise our frequency, the more work we do on ourselves, the more we access those frequencies, which is where our gifts come online. All right. So it really is a formula of let me do the work, let me heal myself. And when that happens, you kind of pop through. And then
mhm.
you start going on these journeys. You start realizing, well, go ahead.
Just to clarify, doing the work. Somebody needs this. So doing the work is literally you have that negative thought and then you say, oh, I'm not going to think about myself that way. I'm actually competent and capable. Like that 2-second interaction of having a doubt and then saying, oh nope, let me tune into a different frequency. Like doing the work literally happens in microseconds
Yeah.
inside of you every day. Just keep going.
Thoughts are things. Thoughts are energy. Thoughts are a form of matter. And the more that we focus on these thoughts of lower vibration, it moves into our body.
Yeah.
That is a defeating situation. So you need to stay, as we say, the positive mental attitude as you move through all of the situations. So gifts. The human needs the human.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, even though we're doing the work, we are designed to work with others.
Mm-hmm.
This is why you'll go to somebody who does activations. All right. And activations can be DNA activations, they can be moon activations, fill in the blank, right? People are out there to deliver new frequencies, which unlock a pathway, which unlock a capability, a knowing, right? So we need each other. And as we raise our frequencies, we're going to find more people in our tribe that show up that
Mm-hmm.
help us accelerate our own expansion. So everybody wants gifts, but everyone should just be focused on raising their frequency and allowing the gifts to come in instead of labeling them. That's how I see them. All right. So, and even me, by the way, I struggle. So just to kind of back up a little second here, when I had my near-death experience, they removed my root chakra. All right.
Whoa.
And what I thought, and I still don't have a root chakra, and what I thought at that point, all of my life, trauma was removed because I have birth trauma just like anybody else, all the way up to whatever that age is, right? So the issue here is that in the past 60 days, I'm in Mexico now. I've sold everything in my life. I've removed everything in my life to immerse myself in the jungles of Jalapa, Mexico, so I can go through a spiritual transformation. I'm that guy that got rid of everything to move into something that I have no idea, right? And through this process, while I had those 13, my higher self came down and merged with the physical body. Okay, aspects of the higher self. Now, his oversoul, three aspects of his oversoul split off. We talked a little bit about those soul aspects. And
Mm-hmm.
those three came down and merged with me too. Now, those three from the highest, the high of the angelic realms. This will amplify my healing capabilities. This is raising the frequency in my body. However, before all of this, I thought I was good.
Mm-hmm.
I got no trauma. I got no issues. I got all this stuff going on. No, let me tell you something. I've learned so many things about myself and I have shed so many tears and I have been to the bottom over the last 60 days. And I'm still doing these things as I learn more about the things I do to prevent myself from raising my frequency.
Yeah.
So it's a never-ending process. And when we can move through those with ease and grace and we can recognize those, it becomes so much smoother. So I just wanted to shout out to everyone and say, hey, listen, I don't care who you are. I don't care how high up the totem pole you think you are. There's always work that needs to be done.
Yeah, absolutely. Something that I'm really feeling called to share in this kind of goes back, something I'm really passionate about right now is this idea of when a lot of the rhetoric around raising your vibration tends to lean a little bit too love and light for me, right? People are like, focus on the good things, maintain the positive attitude, which is a key necessary component to be able to truly raise your vibration. But the alchemical formula for any process of alchemy is solvet coagula, which means to completely dissolve something to completely remake it. That's an ancient hermetic principle that can be viewed in many scientific forms, right? And
Mhm.
so, in order to coagula, which is the love and light energy of embracing your higher self and raising your frequency and coming back together as the stronger version of yourself, you have to dissolve. You have to completely like allow yourself to experience loss and grief and then move through that experience. So for me, like my most in January, my dad and my two baby sisters passed away in a very tragic, sudden experience. And it was horrible. And yet it was one of the most, and it has been one of the most profoundly spiritual experiences of my life, because I know to the depth of my being that out of this complete destruction of everything that I held dear in one way is this ability, right? Is this ability to heal my own grief and therefore heal other people's grief. So it's really helped me in looking at what I'm going through from this lens of like detached love and sacred service. Because when I'm feeling that pit of grief, when I'm feeling that despair of like orphanhood, then I'm able to look at it from this perspective of like, how can I service like the divine heart in this moment? How can I like serve this feeling and heal this feeling? Because that grief is something that everybody experiences sometime in their life and requires like to be worked through. Where I think that as a culture, especially in America, we don't have a culture of helping people through grief and death. Like it
Yeah.
is very, so you just don't talk about it. And that is
Mhm.
ridiculous because it changes you on a cellular level. It changes your entire life. You're in a whole different world. And so now I'm learning about how to like a lot of my gifts are being activated right now by not being scared to be sad, by not being scared
Yeah.
of by being able to like feel it completely, wholly, fully, and completely, and then also letting it go, letting it move through me all at the same time. And that's what I want to help other people do, because that's really the essence of the work that we're talking about is like, what is that dense energy that you want to just hold on to that makes you want to stay in bed for the rest of your life? Okay, identify that, and now let's work through it. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And it is work.
Yeah,
And
constant.
again, up until the last 60 days, I didn't do the work. I
Mm.
didn't know I had to. So now
Mhm.
I'm learning these processes of being human while I'm doing this to thousands of people at a whole nother level. So I'm kind of getting both, right? They're like, hey, Ken, now's the time for you to get your stuff together, heal, so you can move up to these higher, energetic bands that are waiting for you. And the
Yeah.
longer I stall, I'm just stalling everything. Well, stalling the inevitable, they tell me it's happening regardless. It's going to be painful or it's going to be smooth. You choose, but it's happening.
And
So,
ultimately, the only people like you're stalling because of your energy, and I'm doing this too, so I'm speaking to both of us, but like you're stalling because of the energy that you're experiencing while other people are like looking for your codes. And
yeah,
so really guides are just like, you just need to be telling it to other people.
yeah. If you're ready, I'm ready.
I have one that I want to share and then I'm totally ready. One of the things that I do at the Renaissance festivals and at the different festivals that I do three different kinds of readings. I do a tarot reading, I do an aura reading, and I also do oh wait, no, I do a tarot reading, I do a palm reading, and I do a psychic aura reading. And my psychic aura readings specifically focus on helping people identify their gifts. I have done this for probably like 500 people in person, right? They're sitting across from me at this
Yeah.
table. I have no tools. I'm looking at them. And then I allow what is unique and special about them to surface. And then I give it back to them and I tell them what their gifts are. And those gifts, very like sometimes it's clairvoyance, clairaudience, all those sorts of things, definitely. But more often than not, it's like you are an incredible resource manager. You are mechanically minded and you can hear the sounds of a machine and fix it. Like
Oh,
you're to provide and nurture, or like everybody's gifts are so unique and it doesn't like, yeah, it's channeling and yeah, it's like telekinesis and all of these really high level things that we're working towards, but right now the gifts that people have already inside of them are the things that their community relies on them for. So when we're
mhm.
looking for what are your gifts, look around at what people come to you for, look around at what people need from you. That is the cornerstone of your incredible power.
Yeah. And so while you're saying that, they're actually showing me a skyscraper. And they're saying, think of the idea of being on that first floor. Here are your gifts. But you don't actually recognize you're in a skyscraper. You don't recognize there's an elevator going up to the 100th floor, right? And so the universe is only going to tell you, there's another floor. Here's a whole other set of gifts. And you get up there and you work it, right? And then a little later in life, oh, there's another floor. So your gifts will always unfold. Don't come and ask for what are my gifts and expect them to stay like that. Because
Yeah.
there's so much more out there, but you gotta just breadcrumb by breadcrumb, bit by bit, and continue to do the work. And the more work you do, the more you use those gifts you already have and recognize them, then more comes, and it never stops.
Absolutely. I agree. I'm totally ready. So walk me through the process. How does this activation work for people?
So I'm going to speak some light language. I'm going to take everybody through a very gentle visualization. I call it follow the bouncing ball. All right. And ultimately, it's a distraction. Seriously, it doesn't matter if you fall asleep. It doesn't matter if you go on a journey. It's going to be 10 or 15 minutes. I guess it's a little short one here just to do a little healing for folks. Excuse me. So that's about it. I'm going to call down your higher self. And today we're going to open up the third eye during this entire process. And yeah, beyond that, everybody gets what everybody needs. So the difference between me and other traditional practitioners is, well, we have June coming up. There's probably some 6/6 activations happening, right?
Yeah.
There's July 7/7 activations and so on and so forth. I don't do those things. All right. When I do the work I do, you're going to get exactly what you need, and everybody's going to get to you in individual pieces, which is kind of the beauty of it. You're not just showing up, say, "Oh, I'm just going to check this box and do this thing." It's like, listen, whatever's coming is coming, and I just want everybody to remove all expectations and just feel into what's about to take place. And I will tell everybody on my website, kenlloydofficial.com, under Work with Ken, you'll see something called Transformational Healing Protocol.
Mm.
If you find yourself having difficulty over the next 4 to 7 days, there's some protocols in there that'll help you move the energies through your body, because this is not just a do it now and you're done. This is going to shift the energies, and you're going to be like, wow, what just happened? I'm having a great day. I'm having a bad day. I'm having an emotional day. I'm so full of energy. Oh, all I'm doing is sleeping. You're going to find these shifts, right, over the next 4 to 7 days. So yeah. And when you do the full hour with me, that's when the really hits you good. So are you ready?
I'm ready.
Shariato tiata marikata tiati. Should just everyone close their eyes, please? Shariatari, just relax your breaths. Shariato niyatarikatia shariata ma'aletiya tachotopa. Liya shariata kati shariato kuto shariatia niya shariata kati shariato varioto sharia. Breath in, breath out, breath in, breath out. One more. Breath in and breath out. Please visualize tree roots growing from the bottom of your heart. Grow them down your torso, down each of the leg. Down further past the knees, down into the feet. Grow them into Mother Earth. Continue down and down until you see the beautiful orange glow of the center of the earth. Take those tree roots and wrap them counterclockwise 3 times. 1, 2, and 3, and pull them nice and snug with love. Shariatori amari ni shariani atari ni shariatori amari kati sharikoto koto shariatari kati sharikati kubukuto katati gata. Please visualize above your head about a foot, beautiful golden ball, a spear, an orb. Sharikabari, and say to yourself, I wish to connect to the highest of the high, closest to source, that's in 100% alignment with me and my missions. And as you set that intent, allow that orb to come down through the crown, down, down, and into the heart. Just feel that energy, please. That's your higher self in the body. Just relax. Just relax. Take a breath in and a breath out. I want you to expand that orb so it's 6 feet all around you and you are inside the orb of the higher self. Breath in and expand. Just feel into it. Now for the third eye, I like you to visualize a portal, like a little gentle tornado portal. It's clear. You can see all the way through it, nothing in the middle of it. And as you look from the third eye out, it's spinning in the counterclockwise direction. That's going to stay open for the remainder of this session. Nothing you need to do. Just open it. Visualize above you a beautiful, soft red beam of energy coming down into the crown and all the way down your center pillar through all your chakras, exiting into Mother Earth. You are in the middle of this beautiful red, soft red energy. And as you visualize it, it gets wider and wider and wider until you are fully inside this beautiful red beam of energy. As you do this and you look up, you're going to see these beautiful, soft, electric blue orbs, like balloons coming down, all of them moving in a very gentle counterclockwise manner, coming down, down from your feet all the way above you. From your heart, connect to the consciousness of these orbs. It's okay if you don't know how to do that, just set the intent. Send them love. Let them know you're open for whatever they're ready to receive. They're here for activations, healings, knowings, connections, and trauma release. As you dialogue, as you pour your heart out, this beautiful energy, ask them what you would like. Should be open to whatever you receive. Heal this, connect me, activate me, raise my frequency. Those are suggestions, whatever you're called to. And as you do this, they begin to move a little faster. And now they flow in the body and out of the body, in the body and out of the body. And we're just going to work with that. Just maintain the visual and the connection. Aria to sharia tarika di shirika di na daria chubarika di to shirika di karika di ba ni chubariko no shirika di daria to shirika di shirika di ori mani shirika di karika shikutu di kutu kutu di karika bariko di karika di bariko chikini di karika di shirika di karika di karika di shirika di karika barika di chubariko to shirika di karika di karika shikutu mani shikutu shirika di ori mani sha ori moni on daria no di karika di shirika to shirika tarika di shirika di they're opening the crown a little wider, a little wider, a little wider. Shukotori Barikoto Sharia, sacred geometry in the third eye. Shoriko Barikato Sharia, and Dikata Sharia, Dadika to Shiribarikadoni, and Dekatish Barikotori Katarika, your heart is expanding. Ariato Sharia, heart is control. Kariko Sharia, Dadia, Neshko, Barikatorio, Tishirikoto, Motoshko, Meti, to Barikoto Sharia, Dadia, Sharia, the Kariko Bariko Sharia, Dadika, your root is actually pouring out all of the trauma at this moment. Sharia Barikoto Sharia, and those orbs are picking it up. Sharia Darika Deshari and Nadia Dori May and Nishini and Nia Doria Doria Tishirikata Kupukutuka Nayama Ania Doria Dashirikoto to Shurikoto Yatishidi Tishirikata Shiria Toshiria Toshia. Gentler and softer. Sharia Baria Tishiriato A Mayaliata Ariatiata Kutushuriotu Mi Iniana Ariatu Ari Shiriato Kutushurio. The orbs are thanking you for allowing them to heal and work on you. And as you watch them, they are beginning to move upwards and upwards, taking with them the thing you released and leaving with you the thing you asked for. Up, up. You'll notice them leaving to the top. And the beam is gone. As you feel called to it, open your eyes, come out of that.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. Wow. Something that I really want to encourage people who are listening to do when you're grounding back into your body after powerful energy work like this, you want to make sure that you drink water, stay very hydrated. I also find that rubbing my legs or touching my feet tend to help me really like anchor the energy in a very loving, grounded way. And just allowing yourself to really embrace the bliss of the energy that you receive is super important.
So when I'm doing those things, I don't actually see what they're delivering. Like when we did the session with you, I'm able to go in there and tell you this and tell you that and move things around. But for the groups, I'm tapped out. Like I'm
Yeah.
thinking laundry, right? As whatever is happening, right? And I don't actually feel the energies. Other people have these amazing experiences where they're just like tingly or they're tapped out and whatever's happening is happening. So I find that interesting that they put me off to the back room and they just come through. So
That's interesting. Um, I had a couple of downloads that I'm feeling really called to share during that process. One of them is that human beings are the stewards of life on this planet currently. That is literally what we have evolved to do. And so our ability to have conscious thought and our ability to understand and empathize and address and nurture the needs of not only like ourselves but every living form is one of the most like sacred gifts of a human being. So if you're looking for ways to really like lean into the sacred energy that you possess inside of yourself, start looking for small ways that you can give back to the community of life around you, right? To the trees around you, to the animals around you. Like there's this one of the greatest disconnects that has happened in our species throughout time has been this idea that what like you have to go through other people to commune with the divine, and the divine is not in everything all around you all of the time. And obviously a lot of us are identifying that that is no longer true, but I'm just really here to remind us all that like every single piece that we touch, every thing that we are embracing is part of this ecstatic tapestry of life that we are interacting with, and that we experience it for very purposeful reasons. So I'm just being really, really encouraged to ask people to forgive themselves for the level of neglect that they have been shown and that they have in return shown, and to find ways to remember the wonderful experience of being able to nurture and nourish the life of the world around you, and to find ways and to find ways to do that in your daily life.
that's absolutely beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So just in closing, if anybody'd like to reach out to me,
Yeah.
So the website is kenlloydofficial.com.
Mhm.
All right. And I do private sessions. I have 25-minute sessions to 55-minute sessions. Let me tell you, the 25 minutes is usually enough for everybody. And then every 2 weeks, I hold these group healings, which is basically kind of like what you just experienced, but an hour's worth of a very bunch of different things, including DNA activations and recalibrations and things like that, as well as opening everything up, clearing the chakras. I mean, whatever comes through, but it's an hour long and people they'll tap out. They'll tap out right at the beginning and they go on these journeys. They're like, oh, I'm back. What happened? It's, it's exactly what we want. We want you to go have fun doing whatever your team tells you to do. Why all these different energies come in and they work on all aspects of you. It's amazing. So yeah, I appreciate you. And again, I'm glad we were able to have this connection so quickly. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for being on my show. I really, really enjoyed this conversation. And I look forward to taking part in those energy activations that you have. I definitely will be there for that. And just if people are interested in working with me as well, I'm available on my Instagram or through my Facebook. I also have a Paper Bell website where you can book individual sessions with me. I do Mystic Mentorship where I help people develop spiritual practices that really resonate with them. And I also have a 10-week intensive course where I teach people how to be a divine oracle all by themselves. So if
Oh,
you're interested in expanding your gifts, go ahead and reach out to either of us. And thank you so much to everybody who's listening for everything that you are doing right now to make the world a better place. Thank you for the time that you have allotted to our frequencies. And I am eternally grateful for this opportunity. So
it was
thank you.
nice talking to you. Yep, absolutely. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.